Hey YouTube, it's Eric. In this video, I'm just going to be covering some disinformation propaganda that I've seen out there. I'm going to be covering this one guy that I've seen push it, but this is being pushed by lots of channels and researchers out there, quote unquote researchers. And this is that the New World Order dates back just to Cecil Rhodes. And Cecil Rhodes, if you're not aware, created a secret society called the Society of the Round Table, which he literally says from his own words, that Cecil Rhodes, from his own words, I'm going to show you, says that he modeled his Society of the Round Table off of the Society of Jesus. But none of these shills tell you that. They say that Cecil Rhodes was just a Freemason, when let alone that the Scottish Rite Freemasonry has the same motto as the Jesuits, ad morgium al gloriam. I'll show you the post I put on the internet. I'll link it in the description on that. But these disinformation artists say that, and one of these guys I'll show you, his name is Dr. Rodney Howard Brown. He's some charismatic preacher, like an evangelical charismatic preacher, which is automatically a red flag for me because Alberto Rivera has said that the Jesuits were utilizing the charismatic Christian movement to infiltrate the various Protestant denominations to pacify them. But Dr. Rodney Howard Brown wrote a book with Paul Williams, and Paul Williams wrote a good book called Operation Gladio, but I've said on a previous video that I was concerned about Paul Williams because Paul Williams says stupid stuff like we need to audit the Fed when the Federal Reserve has a comprehensive annual financial report that's been released every single year. And like Paul Williams just gatekeeps Paul Williams taught at a Jesuit university, University of Scranton, the same university that gave Joe Biden the honorary degree. Paul Williams also is an FBI agent. Like, it was the Jesuit priest, former president of Fordham, Robert Ignatius Gannon, that said the FBI and Fordham, a Jesuit school, have the same ideas. And Paul Williams also wrote for the Jesuit-trained Knight of Malta, William Buckley's National Review magazine. So there's a lot of red flags with Paul Williams. And Paul Williams wrote this book with this Dr. Rodney Howard Brown. And the whole book is about how the New World Order originates. It's about how Cecil Rhodes and the Rothschilds control the New World Order. Like, it's literally, it's hilarious how the book is just pure disinfo. Like, I saw Dr. Rodney Howard Brown was even on Alex Jones' InfoWars show promoting this book. The whole book, and like, he doesn't obviously say that. I've covered this on a previous video. Anyone can go on the Jewish Encyclopedia, type in Control F Rothschild on the Jewish Encyclopedia, and it'll say that the Rothschilds are the guardians of the papal treasure. Okay, but like, this whole video, like, there's lots of, like, they probably go on for 30 to 40 minutes in this 3-hour video about how Cecil Rhodes, the Freemasonic British, the Brit Cecil Rhodes, was trying to create a new world order. What the new world order is, according to Dr. Rodney Brown, or Rodney Howard Brown, is the British Empire, which is just classic disinformation. Like, the Catholics for hundreds of years have been slandering the British, saying that, like, all of our problems are due to the Brits, and it's because Britain has historically been Protestant, and that's why, like, the Britain is always slandered by these Catholic disinformation artists like Lyndon LaRouche, for instance, puts out all this disinfo that the British are controlling the United States. Like, it's hilarious. But yeah, so I just wanted to show you this. So this Dr. Rodney Howard Brown is saying that the New World Order dates back to Cecil Rhodes. So I have a book open here called the Last Will and Testament of Cecil Rhodes, and there's quotes from Cecil Rhodes in this book. I linked this in the description, but this was a note written here by the compiler of the text. I think his name was Terrence Stewart. But look at this. This is interesting here. It says, so I'm just going to show you that Cecil Rhodes was a puppet of the Jesuits. He wasn't some rogue element creating, like, it's so funny. Like, Cecil Rhodes didn't create the New World Order. Like, what the fuck? It's so stupid. Okay, but sorry, I keep going here. The English-speaking race stood to Mr. Rhodes for all that the Catholic Church stood to Ignatius Loyola. Oh, I'm going to repeat that one more time. The English-speaking race stood to Mr. Rhodes for all that the Catholic Church stood to Ignatius Loyola. Mr. Rhodes saw in the English-speaking race the greatest instrument yet evolved for the progress and elevation of mankind, shattered by the internal dissensions and reft in twain by the Declaration of American Independence, just as the unity of the Church was destroyed by the Protestant Reformation. Unlike Loyola, who saw that between Catholic Protestants and Catholics no union was possible, who therefore devoted all of his energies to enable the Catholics to extirpate their adversaries. Mr. Rhodes believed that it was possible to secure the reunion of the race. Loyola was an out-and-out Romanist. He took sides unhesitatingly with the Pope against the Reformers. This is the compiler of the text. I'm going to show you right after I read this from Cecil Rhodes' own mouth, where he said he wanted to model his society off the Jesuits. Okay. Okay, so you see here, the attitude of Mr. Rhodes, though, was altogether different than Loyola's, apparently, on the idea of the Protestant question. He was devoted to the old flag, but in his ideas, he was American. In his later years, he expressed to me in his unhesitating readiness to accept the reunion of the race under the stars and stripes, if it cannot be obtained in any other way. And actually, before this book was published, you can read this on my library, archive.org. Archbishop of Chicago James Edward Quigley announced in 1903 that the Catholic Church in the United States will rule the world simultaneously. He declared that in 1903, and he says that any politician who rules against the Catholic Church I'm paraphrasing, he said James Edward Quigley said any politician who rules against the Church, his life will be short indeed. That's what the Archbishop said before this book was published that I'm reading here, just for some context. Okay. You see, although he had no objection to the monarchy, he unhesitatingly preferred the American to the British Constitution, and the textbook which he laid down for the guidance of his novitiates was a copy of the American Constitution. Imagine the soul of an Erasmus and the skin of a Loyola. I repeat, imagine the soul of an Erasmus and the skin of a Loyola, ready to purchase the union of Christendom by imposing upon the Pope the thesis which Luther nailed upon the church door at Wittenberg, and you have some idea of the standpoint of Mr. Rhodes. He was for securing, if necessary, by means at which the first sight were little calculated to promote unity. If the American Constitution was his political textbook, his one favorite expedient for inducing Americans to recognize the need for unity was the declaration of a tariff war waged by means of differential duties upon imports from those English-speaking commonwealths which clapped heavy duties on British goods. So Cecil Rhodes he was essentially trying to merge the business aristocratic elite of the United States and Britain, very similar to how the Bilderberg group did it with the Jesuit Joseph Rettinger 50 years later. That's all that essentially Cecil Rhodes was. He was a powerful businessman. He's not the origins of the New World Order. That's just so stupid. It just makes you laugh. But so you see this big text here. This is what I want to show you. This is now quoting from Cecil Rhodes. Okay, this is page 64 of the last will and testament of Cecil Rhodes. Look at this. This is what obviously none of the disinformation artists tell you. Look what Cecil Rhodes says from his own mouth. I guarantee this quote is, I would bet $1 million this quote is not in the book, The Killing of Uncle Sam, written by Dr. Paul Williams and Dr. Rodney Howard Brown. I would bet $1 million this quote's not in the book. But this is what Cecil Rhodes says. Please remember the key of my idea discussed with you is a society copied from the Jesuits. I'm just going to highlight that. Just read that statement, and this is what Cecil Rhodes said from his own mouth. Okay, this is from the last will and testament of Cecil Rhodes, and you'll see that there's a ton of disinformation out there that says Cecil Rhodes was working for the British Empire and creating the New World Order, and supposedly because he was a Freemason, he was diabolically plotting the New World Order. When the motto of Freemasonry is Ad Morgium, the Scottish Rite Freemasonry is Ad Morgium El Gloriam for the 32nd degree, which is known as the military degree, and the Jesuits are an international geopolitical military order. But look at this. Cecil Rhodes says, please remember the key of my idea discussed with you is a society copied from the Jesuits. As to organization, the practical solution of differential rate and a copy of the United States. Oh, I'm going to go back and read this here. So a copy of the United States Constitution, for it is the home rule of or federation in an organization to work this out, working in the House of Commons for the decentralization, remembering that an assembly that is responsible for a fifth of the world has no time to discuss the questions raised by Dr. Tanner or the important matter of Mr. O'Brien's breaches, and the labor question is an important matter. But deeper than that, the labor question is the question of the market for the products of labor, and that as the local consumption production of England can only support about 6 million, the balance depends on the trade of the world. Okay, so just like Bilderberg, 50 years later, again, it was a Jesuit priest, lay Jesuit, Joseph Rettinger, working with an army of Knights of Malta, literally Knights of Maltas everywhere, creating the Bilderberg Group to create like an integrated, interconnected business community, which is exactly what Cecil Rhodes was doing 50 years before. He's not the origin of the New World Order. Okay, and this is from Rhodes here. Okay, Rhodes says, I mean, after 100 years in a secret society organized like Loyola's. You see this? I'm going to repeat. Rhodes is saying, I mean, after 100 years in a secret society organized by Loyola's. Okay, and then he's saying this after talking about creating a commercial war against those who want to boycott their global free trade system. Okay, look at the text. Okay, this is what this is not in Dr. Rodney Howard-Brown's book. There was not one mention of the Jesuit order. I watched this whole video at work yesterday, 3 hours, and like there's a video on the internet of like someone made a video of saying that like it's kind of chopped up audio, but apparently like, someone found a clip of Doug Hagman actually saying that he went to a Jesuit seminary. But obviously there wasn't one mention of the Jesuits in this whole 3-hour video. Yeah. I'm just pointing that out there. There's a lot of disinformation that's saying that Cecil Rhodes is like controlling the New World Order. And you see from his own writings, like the secret society, the Round Table, like the economic secret society that Cecil Rhodes wanted to establish. He says it right here that he wanted to model it off Ignatius Loyola's Society of Jesus. Like right there, he says it. This is on page 66 of the last will and testament of Cecil Rhodes. And here on page 64, Rhodes admits it again. And then I did a post on this. Like people don't bring this up. The Fabian Socialists. They don't want to blame it. They want to blame everything on the Brits. The Fabian Socialists. It was George Bernard Shaw who said that he wanted the Fabian Socialists to be the Jesuits of socialism. Okay, but you don't hear the shows bring that up. Okay, but I just wanted to show you this. If you're not aware of it, Cecil Rhodes said he wanted to model his Society of the Round Table off the Jesuit order. This is the book here that I just read out of. This was like that was from Cecil Rhodes' own words. Okay, the own words he wrote out, and like this, what Cecil Rhodes said about him modeling his society off the Jesuits is obviously avoided at all costs by all the disinformation shows. They're just looking to pin the blame of everything that's going on like the historically Protestant British Empire. That's what's going on. Yeah, I think that's. I'm gonna see if anyone's in the comments here. Give me a second. I think that's all I wanted to show you. I recommend like you watch some of this video just for like you can see how like the propaganda works. You can see how. And again, this Dr. Rodney Howard-Brown is this charismatic preacher. And Dr. Paul Williams, again, he wrote a good book on Operation Gladio, but he went to he taught at a Jesuit university, was lifelong Catholic. He says he's taken all the Catholic sacraments, and he just like tons of disinformation Paul Williams puts out. He'll never tell you that Nelson Rockefeller was coached into politics by the Jesuit trained Malcolm Wilson at Fordham and Fordham Prep. Malcolm Wilson regularly went to the Jesuit retreat house at Manresa in New York. This is just stuff that Paul Williams won't tell you. Okay. He won't. Okay. So like I think he at this point is a gatekeeper, especially if he's doing a book with this Dr. Rodney Howard-Brown, and they were putting out all this crap that Cecil Rhodes is where the New World Order originates from. And even with the Council of Foreign Relations, they won't go into like the complete overt Catholic connections to the Council on Foreign Relations. Like Janet Napolitano, former head of Homeland Security, Jesuit trained at Santa Clara, is currently on the board at the CFR. They want to talk about how Robert Gannon, Jesuit trained at Holy Cross, a current professor at Georgetown, lifelong CIA officer who actually led the transition team, the White House transition team to create the Department of Homeland Security. He's on the Council of Foreign Relations. Like there's hundreds of connections to the Council of Foreign Relations directly to the Jesuits, and they don't. And the Council of Foreign Relations is like it's another group that they try to associate with the Cecil Rhodes and like the British Empire, saying that look, it's the Protestant British that are trying to take everything over, and it's crap. Like it's you see it right here, Cecil Rhodes. I'm just gonna read this one more time before the video's over. Please remember the key of my idea discussed with you is a society copied from the Jesuits as to organization. Okay, like it's the Jesuit. Like it was. You can look on the. If you want to go on the New Advent Encyclopedia, type in Illuminati, you'll see that Adam Weishaupt, like Cecil Rhodes, Adam Weishaupt modeled his Society of the Illuminati off the Jesuit order. Yeah, I'll just read you that quote here before. You see, it's a recurring theme that we see with all these groups, like the Fabian Socialists, the Illuminati, the Society of the Round Table, the Society of the Cincinnatus. They're all modeled off the Society of Jesus. You see, after the pattern of the Society of Jesus, okay, you see that after the pattern of the Society of Jesus, he Weishaupt strictly hierarchical organization of his society, that being the Illuminati. Okay. I recommend you read this. This is a good little article here on the Illuminati. Actually, on the Scottish Rite Freemasonry link, I put together this article a while ago. Should come up if you type in Jesuit Scottish Rite, same motto. Okay, I'll link this in the description. But this is what I was talking about. Like literally 20 minutes of this video was saying how Cecil Rhodes is controlling the New World Order because he was made a Freemason. Like it was laughable. Like it's doing this to discredit conspiracy researchers at the same time. But look what was said in the book here. Scotch Rite Masonry Illustrated, the complete ritual of the ancient and accepted Scottish Rite, profusely illustrated. You should read this book. Was completely profusely illustrated by Jonathan Blanchard. This was written in 1888, Volume 2. He says, relating to the 32nd degree, which is the degree of the royal secret, which is the military degree. I sourced that in this article. This is the military degree of Scottish Rite Freemasonry. So quoting from the book here, the key to this, the 32nd degree, is its motto, Ad Morgium Del Gloriam. This is the motto of the Jesuits, who with the apostate Count Ramsay made these French degrees falsely called Scottish. Okay. So I just want to point that out there. This is like these guys are Jesuit chills. I'm very confident in labeling at this point Paul Williams and Dr. Rodney Howard-Browne Jesuit chills. And like Hagman, like you can hear Doug Hagman on audio clip saying he went to a Jesuit seminary. Like the Jesuit chills are all over YouTube. I did a video on this. If you haven't seen it, I'll show you this guy quickly. This guy David Pakman, who has like 600,000 subscribers, he came out of nowhere onto the Night of St. Gregory the Great, Rupert Murdoch's Fox News, and then he just became like a YouTube star. David Pakman, as of now, is a professor at Jesuit Boston College while he's making all these YouTube videos. He became a professor at Boston College, the Jesuit University, in 2017. So like the Jesuits own the disinformation on the internet. Like they own it, like fully. So if you're not aware of that, Cecil Rhodes is being used as propaganda to blame the New World Order on the British, historically British Protestant Empire. And he said that he modeled his society off the Jesuits in his own book. Yeah, I'm just looking at some of the comments now. Owen Benjamin, I haven't heard of his channel. No, I'll check him out. If he's talking all about the Jews, though, he's probably an agent. Especially if he's making videos, because the people who tend to be just deceived about the Zionists taking over the world, they don't tend to make YouTube videos on it. So if he's actively promoting and making content on the Jews, I'd say he's an agent. I'll check him out. Yeah, I was looking at your comment now, Jeremy. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I know. I just found out some information. Donald Trump, like the Jesuits have to like Donald Trump's latest military budget. Like I think it was on behalf of his devout Catholic general James Mattis, but I think I saw the number was $750 billion is the 2019 military spending budget. I'm saying that has to make the Jesuits smile. And Trump recently there's a program called 1033, a U.S. military program that Donald Trump signed an executive order re-signing this program. This program 1033 gives it's given $5 to $6 billion already since 1997 in surplus military equipment to police departments all over the United States, and that's why like you see like at the Ferguson riots there were like tanks and Humvees and cops walking down the street with light machine guns and assault rifles, and And the Attorney General Jeff Sessions actually said that all these weapons are life-saving equipment. So it'll be. I personally think the Democrats are going to win too, but I just think like Donald Trump has like buffed up the police state. He's cut taxes for the rich. He's like divided America ideologically and like politically very effectively. And like one of the Jesuits' favorite mottos is "Divide and Conquer," "Divide et Conquera." So I do think a Democrat will get in there in 2020, but I think Trump has served his purpose for the Jesuits. Yeah, I think I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. No, I'm just looking at, yep, actually, the Jesuits actually, yeah, great point about JFK Jr. I think they killed JFK Jr. because, or at least from what I heard, that's before he was killed, he was thinking about running for president. And JFK Jr., from what I heard, he was going to try to finish what his father started, which obviously, which would have terrified the Jesuits, and they would have said, okay, there's no way we're going to allow that to happen. So that definitely, I'm looking more into the JFK Jr. assassination, but it's very interesting. Like, it was a mysterious plane crash, so I think that screams Vatican involvement. And going back to Lincoln, if you're not aware, it was Abraham Lincoln's professor or his lawyer. It was this guy here, Richard T. Merrick. I linked to, in a video way down, I recommended a book that was done on the history of Georgetown University. And the lawyer for John Surratt, like John Surratt, who is right here, you should read his Wikipedia page. He was, and also read Burke McCarty's book, The Suppressed Truth About the Assassination of Abraham Lincoln. John Surratt, after the assassination, fled to the Vatican to join the Papal Zouaves. So, like, that's very, very damning evidence. And Surratt was educated by Jesuits himself, and like his mother, like the book goes into how the Surratt house was like right by like the local church in the community in Maryland where they were at. It was essentially like the hub of the Catholic community was at the Surratt house. But John Surratt's lawyer, coincidentally, was Richard T. Merrick, who was then president. He was the uncle, or he was the nephew of the Jesuit priest William Matthews. And the Jesuit priest William Matthews here. I have the book. I'm going to scan this on to archive.org. I've shown this picture on my channel. You can see a picture of this Jesuit priest here, William Matthews, the uncle of the lawyer Richard T. Merrick, who got John Surratt off for the Abraham Lincoln assassination. William Matthews is doing the Master Mason hand in his coat pose. Okay, but this Richard T. Merrick, who's connected to the Matthews family, and his brother William Matthews Merrick was a prominent United States Circuit Court judge for the District of Columbia at this time, who also went to Georgetown. Okay, and you see here Richard T. Merrick, like he was also he was awarded the best debater at the Philademic Society at Jesuit Georgetown University. Okay, like he got honorary degrees from Georgetown University. Like he regularly went to Georgetown. There's lots of information on Richard T. Merrick in the book I sourced down in my video feed. Actually, this is the book here. This is on my archive.org account. It's called Memorial of a First Century of Georgetown College, D.C. Compromising a History of Georgetown University. But this is like direct proof that the Jesuits were involved in covering up the Lincoln assassination. In Burke McCarty's book, he actually says during the Surratt trial, which had Richard T. Merrick, a Georgetown alumnus, as the defense lawyer, Burke McCarty says that Georgetown University students and alumni like attended the trial and were cheering on John Surratt. So, so like they covered up killing Abraham Lincoln. It's undeniable. John Wilkes Booth was a member of the Knights of the Golden Circle, a Catholic secret society. So, I'm pretty sure Henry Ford was even a member of the Knights of the Golden Circle. Henry Ford, published his book, The International Jew, and was, like Dr. Henry Howard Brown, like was blaming the Jews and the British and the Protestants for all the chaos that the Roman Catholic Church was doing themselves, and throughout all their intrigues in the world. But yeah, I think I'm gonna end it there, guys. Let me see if there's any other comments. Hey, thanks for watching, someone. Glad you're here. But yeah, definitely. Just I think you're right, Jeremy. Though I think the Democrats will win, but I think Trump has served his purpose very well. The Jesuits have gotten a lot done here in his 4 years, like buffing up the police state, tax cuts to the rich, the continuation of the war in Syria. But I think most importantly, it's the ideologically dividing America. America has become like polarized politically. Where now like you either like hate Donald Trump or love Donald Trump, and there's just not a lot of rational, logical thinking going on, especially in the realm of politics with Americans. Most Americans are thinking emotionally rather than logically, and I think that's part of the Trump agenda as well. But that's all for this one, YouTube. Peace and love, and Namna.